When a dream dies, something that you've been longing for, something that you've been dreaming about and putting effort into goes away. Maybe, perhaps, one day you woke up and you just weren't wanting it anymore, and it feels almost stripped away from you without your approval. Or perhaps life just took it away for whatever reason, through injury or financial situation, whatever it is. It was something you were deeply aligned with that just left. And now the only thing remaining is this husk experience, this nothingness, this loss of energy, the chaotic mess and storm going on in your head. That's something I've been very, very familiar with, and if you're a returning viewer, you know that quite well. And along the way, through that journey, I've picked up a lot of skills and strategies to help navigate through that period, especially because when you're in the pit of misery itself, there's really nothing anyone can say to get you out of it. There's nothing even you can say to get yourself out of it. And the reason for that is because when a dream dies, it isn't just the idea itself. It's an entire identity wrapped around it. You know, you've formed yourself into a frame. The way you've spoken and communicated with people, carried yourself, had daydreams, built a particular life, it all to some degree had either influence from that dream itself or was directly affected by it. And when that goes away, it's the whole thing just gets collapsed or put into question, if anything. And that could be an extremely lonely experience, frustrating, and deeply confusing. That was one for me in particular, very deeply confusing. You're wondering, what the heck, why? You know, for me, it was the waking up one day and not wanting to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu anymore. I was completely split in half. One part of me wanted it, the ego in particular, but the soul, that deepest part of me in the center, just was not aligned. And that was a huge conflict. But here's some of the few things you can do if you're in the midst of it right now. Don't pretend that you're okay. Now, of course, you know, if you're in public, you don't have to trauma dump on everybody. Only the people that you trust and love, or you have a guide/mentor, which, by the way, link in the description. I just opened up my 6-month program for my mentorship. But when you're alone to yourself, don't feel the need to have to always lift things all the time. You can allow yourself to just experience the moment, experience that pain, the emotions of what's going on, which also leads me into the next thing. Allow whatever emotion that needs to play to play. Now, there's a caveat to that one detail, or I should say to that one piece of direction. Wherever the emotion takes you, it's very important that you still remember and stay grounded in your center. And that center I often call the yellow light. I imagine for myself, you can have your own interpretations, but I imagine for myself internally a bright yellow light. My deepest center, where it's tapped into the infinite, the eternal, the place where you feel abundance, joy, love, compassion, purpose, energy. It's everything. God himself, the universe itself, all packaged internally within you. And the idea is to at least have a rope tethered to you, metaphorically speaking, as you venture into the emotion. Whether it's despair or grief. For me, it was grief. I was grieving the old me, the old identity that I was. And I allowed myself to venture into it because to some degree you need to. You need to allow yourself to walk through that desert, through those dark times. And before you go in, tether. Because if you're untethered, there is a risk that you can just fall and spiral down into those pits and find yourself in there for a very, very long time. And I do not want that for you. The other thing is avoid jumping into the next idea right away. Think of it like a rebound dream. You don't want to do that because you're still in a state of confusion, distress, anxiety. all sorts of things. And you want to make sure you're clear-headed and connected first from your heart and your soul, fully being centered, healing, mostly recovered, and then it'll speak through you again and you'll be redirected into the next thing. But up until then, of course, if you have to make a living, do what you need to do, that's fine. But before you go gun-ho into the next venture, the next dream, the next purpose in your life, allow yourself the processing time. And that's something that when I didn't do beforehand, when I tried to jump quickly, it didn't pan out very well. I very quickly just found that it wasn't a direction I wanted to go. Pretty much just not wasted my time. I learned some things, but for the most part it was. And if in case you're wondering, it was Amazon dropshipping. I had this idea that I wanted to get into Amazon dropshipping, and I tried to sell some carabiners, and I did very little market research, bought a whole ton of it, and was so in the idea of, yeah, this is what I want to go for. And then as time went on, I said, what the heck am I doing? This is not the direction I want to go. Money spent, time spent, but I did learn something. So the good news is, even if you did, if you already have, don't feel bad about it. You still took some nuggets of wisdom from that experience. You want to, as best you can, also avoid ruminating on your thoughts. Whenever these situations happen, when you're in great despair, there's obviously this repeated loop cycle. You have particular thoughts, you have particular images. So thoughts I usually consider words, and images, of course, just pictures. And when these start to come up, they start to evoke particular emotions. It also works the other way around. If you're feeling very distressed and you're sitting in that despair, it's very easy for that to manufacture in your mind images that cause you a great deal of fear and panic, or words as well, very self-defeating words that show no hope for the future ahead. When you feel the initial hit, so when you're feeling that emotion, when you start to feel thoughts come up and you start to have images pop in your mind, quickly do your best to do a few things. First thing is, give yourself a vocal command like stop. Stop, we're not doing this. I'm allowing myself to feel the emotion, but I do not want to allow myself to enter a loop pattern. Because when you enter that loop pattern, I think of it as like you're just digging the hole deeper. And another way I personally interpret it best is, as you cause that to spin, the more it spins, the heavier the gravitational pull, psychically speaking. And then at that point, when it's very dense, you've spun it so much, when you try to get out of it, it pulls you back in. Its gravitational pull is very strong. And so if you do not allow it to spin as often or as much, of course, perfect scenario would be never to let it spin, but that's borderline impossible. The idea is just to reduce it. Its grip would be not as powerful. So you can vocal command stop, or you can get up and just sort of distract yourself. Maybe go do some chores if you have to. Or if you're up for it, sit with it and embrace that challenge. Try to sit with the challenge, focus on that bright yellow light in the center, stay connected to that as much as possible, as difficult as it can be. Another thing you can do, this is sort of on a side note, but if you find that you're dreaming a lot more, I recommend you write them down. I actually, in fact, have my dream log. This is actually going to be for another video I'm going to be doing, but I have my dream log over here where I write down my dreams. The idea behind it is dreams are a powerful tool that allows you to gain access to the unconscious and give you information that you otherwise would not be able to have access to just generally in that moment. Because the dream itself will bring up to you symbols, signs, metaphors, cryptic images, cryptic sequences that you have to sort of decipher. But within it, I find there's always, almost always, a deeper underlying message, something that's going to connect the dots for you. Because I don't know how your path will play out. And that's what I always tell my mentorship clients. But if we can tap into, reconnect with the center, with that soul-aligned, heart-aligned part of you that has access to the creative powers literally of the universe, you will come to realize that your purpose has just been reoriented. It's just been pointed in a different direction. Whatever it is that this dream of yours that you had to pursue was placed there because it had to be placed there. And once that time passed, there unfortunately was an expiration on it. For me, the World Championship dream had an expiration. And no matter how much you bootstrap it, You can't. Your ego can be only pushed for so long, and the higher you elevate your consciousness, you're not going to be driven by ego as much anymore. And that's something to really understand, and don't be too heavy on yourself. Understand that as you elevate your awareness and you expand, the ego's grip will be weaker. And so if you had pursuits of money and pleasure and vanity, all these things, if all of a sudden you expanded your consciousness as time's gone on, your soul would be overpowering and it's going to tell you to reorient. It's time to go in a different direction. It doesn't mean that what you had before is not going to cause you pain because you've been so attached to it. It's going to cause you pain for sure. When I had the pursuit for being a black world champion, you don't think the vanity of being this winner, this top dog, where I no longer can feel the feeling of inferiority and I need to prove myself in order because I already just did and all of you can just kiss my ass now. You don't think that was something that I would have enjoyed and would have wanted, but it's a dark shadow aspect of me. It's not the light-bringing part of me that I want to express and connect to. The part of me that wants to expand my consciousness to be as deeply aware of myself as possible so that I can meet individuals and quickly, very quickly connect right away to the bone and be able to help them detangle their own web that they're caught in. But in order for me to do that, in order for that to be a reality, I have to expand, allow that old identity to crack so that we can be pointed in a different direction. So the final thing I'll leave you with is, you're in the moment, maybe you're in the moment right now. If you are, I know what I'm probably saying is going to sound like complete horseshit, and you don't think that's true, it's not possible, it's just garbage times, and I get it. When you're in the midst, it sucks. But I hope that when that passes, and you've applied some of the practices I just gave you, that you will come out on the other end and you will see a new impulse to change, as I call it. The impulse to change will come in as you continue to stay tapped into that soul center, the yellow bright light, and it will eventually call upon you a different path. And that will reinvigorate you, fill you with energy, fill you with motivation. You don't need to motivate yourself anymore. You just have it, and you'll have the answers. And I wish that for all of you. Now, to end things off, two things. Number one, if you want to have a self-paced process towards diving deep into your center, understanding the stories that control your lives, knowing what are the complexes that you live in, being able to quiet down the mind, and just overall have a more deeper awareness of yourself, click the first link down on my free PDF. It's called the Identity Initiation Guide. If you have watched my videos for some time and you feel that you want my personal guidance and mentorship, I finally opened up my secret project, which is my 6-month mentorship program. Click that second link down below, head over the page, look through it, read it, and if it's something that resonates with you and you feel called to do it, it would be my absolute pleasure. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video.